Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for the Originals Season 1, Episode 16, Farewell to Storyville, and this episode was great. Another really great episode from the Originals. 3 episodes in a row so far, and they've all been great, and that's really great with a show like this, you know. It really is great. By the way, guys, I'm just going to tell you one thing. That show, you know that show I was reviewing, Twisted? I'm no longer reviewing that. I don't want to. So Twisted I'm not reviewing anymore. But, let's get to this episode, the Originals. This episode, was just amazing, definitely. Like, Claire Holt, who played Rebekah, gave an amazing performance in this episode. Really great job. And it just, I really love this episode. Let's just get to it. We start way back in the day. We see Rebekah as a young girl. She's waking up, she's afraid of a storm, and Klaus is there to comfort her. And he promises he won't let it hurt her. He gives her a small carving he made, for their father of a night, and to help, you know, this is before Michael, basically, this is before him, and to help her be brave. She asks him to stay with her until the storm ends, and Elijah tells her to go, but Rebekah says they are trapped, and she tells Elijah that Klaus has the white oak stake, and he bought it for her, and Elijah orders her away. Again, she takes off at a run through the cemetery, and, it basically shows us, you know, the difference between then and now. You know, now they're like, it's all out war between them, when before they were like so close as siblings. So, you know, it really is not good at all. So Marcel talks to Rebekah, and he tells her to stay safe and promises to save her. She tells him that she's trapped, and he says he's got Davina working on a loophole. She tells him she doesn't want to go back to running from her brother. He tells her to buy some time, to give him some time to work with Davina, and that's what he does. So Elijah and Klaus are still facing off, and when the sun comes up, Rebekah hides in a tomb and listens. And Klaus reminds Elijah that they can kill him to get past him, and this scene was pretty big. He reminds him he caused him great pain when he stabbed him with the knife, and Elijah tells him that he looks like their father, and Klaus blows up and says none of them know what it was like to be on the receiving end of their father's rage, and that he's forgotten, and Elijah says he has not forgotten. We then see Elijah and Klaus as brothers, and we see that they used to actually be very good, close brothers. You know, Elijah's teaching him how to shoot a bow, but then Michael comes up and basically ruined the whole thing. He snatches it, tells him he'll never be able to shoot a bird, and backhands him. Elijah tries to defend him. Michael kicks him in the stomach, says he needs to be stronger, and Klaus tries a runaround, and Elijah blocks him again. So, clearly we can see, you know, he was not a good, father at all. You know, we know about this. So Klaus calls out for the trial of Rebekah, and he tells her she's accused of betraying her own blood. He asks what her plea is, and she tells him to shut up. She tells him he was hateful and denied her the freedom to love. She says she called Marcel to chase him away, and she says he was cruel and vindictive, and he insists that he only tried to protect her, and she says she wanted to be just like him. Elijah reminds him that no one has stood loyally by him for so long as Rebekah has, and not even himself. He says it's Klaus that has forgotten. So Elijah tells him he remembers the day their father beat a teenage Klaus with a whip so miraculously he thought he would die. We see Rebekah come in and hold a sword on their father and tell him she won't let him hurt Klaus. Snatches a sword from her, stalks out, and Klaus says she betrayed him out of lust for Marcel, and Klaus says if she can admit their great love, Marcel manipulated her to take over the city. And Rebekah insists that her and Marcel love each other, but he asks why. Marcel didn't come after her, after the city burned. She tells him she brought Michael there because he was a lesser evil than her bastard brother, and given the choice, she would do it again. He leaps at her and nearly stabs her. Elijah intervenes and snags away Oak Stake, and Elijah orders her away. She goes. He tells Klaus he has to deal with him now, since he didn't want to listen to their sister. So Rebekah talks to Marcel and finds out Davina can't help. She says Klaus provoked her, and they argued. She tells him that Klaus said that Marcel seduced her into bringing Michael there. And then she says that she wishes they were still on the run. Marcel insists Klaus won't kill her, and she says he will and also kill him, and she will also kill him. And she tells him to go and not look back. So Klaus asks what he'll do since he has Tunde's blade, which can torment him, and the white oak stake, which can kill him. And Elijah says he won't kill him. He tells Klaus that he loves his sister and has to protect her. He reminds him that when they were loving children together, He reminds him when they were loving children together. And Klaus insists that the food memories make her betrayal worse. He says Rebekah has always hated him, and Elijah says he has no idea what she would have done for him. So, Elijah tells him of a night when she tried to kill Michael. This was a pretty big thing. We basically find out that Rebekah tried to kill Michael to protect Klaus because she was so worried about Klaus. She tried to kill Michael. And Klaus at first does not believe a word of this. He thinks that Elijah's just trying to say this because Elijah is basically just, he sees the good in everybody. And, you know, we know this from Elijah. He basically tries to see the good in everyone. And Klaus just thinks it's complete bullshit that Elijah's saying this. But Elijah tells him he saw it and says she would have done it if he hadn't stopped her. And Elijah says he regrets stopping her. He says Rebekah can be quick to love and has a short temper, but she loves him, that his bad treatment of her has broken her heart. So Elijah says he can't blame her for summoning Michael. And he says he can. He makes a run at Rebekah again. Elijah stops him again. Klaus says if he wants to protect Rebekah, he will have to stake him for good. And Klaus tells Elijah he's the same abomination that he is. He just dresses it up with better manner. And Klaus opens his arm and tells him to use the white oat stake. And Elijah says he will not kill him, but he might make him suffer. And Klaus says Elijah is still clinging to the hope of redemption. And Klaus charges his brother and slams Tunde's blade right into him. And he asks Elijah how it feels. Rebekah comes out and tells him that she'll decide who lives and who dies. And she has a white oak stake in her hand. So Elijah lies on the ground suffering, and she says she'll stop it. Rebekah tells her that all she did was love Marcel, and he should have been happy for them instead of fearing. And he says there's no one to blame but himself. He asks her where Marcel is, and says she left him trapped with him. So then Klaus tells Rebekah it's not a fair fight, the two of them against each other. And he tells her Marcel would be there if he really loved her. He tells her if she admits that she wanted him dead at Michael's hands, he'll let her help Elijah. He screams at her to admit it. Rebekah says maybe, but she did not want him dead. Klaus looks horrified. He grabs a stake and runs it right through her stomach. And she collapses. So Elijah lies on the ground suffering. Klaus sits on top of this tomb. Rebekah walks up to him. She asks why he missed her heart. I'm sorry, my leg is like really itchy. I don't know why. He says maybe he did, or perhaps he never meant to kill her, and just wanted her to feel the fear he felt when their father came from him. And Klaus tells her she accuses him of being evil, yet she conspired to kill her flesh and blood. And she says she has fear of abandonment, he has anger, and Elijah is compelled to help those that can't be helped. Rebekah tells him they are the definition of curse because they live forever without hope. So Klaus is completely stunned about this. Elijah lies choking and tormented. Klaus kneels and jams his hand inside his brother and yanks out the knife. He says now they're even. So everything is okay now, it seems. Klaus and Rebekah have their own little talk. Rebekah tells Klaus that he should go ahead and do to her what he's going to do. He says that she said Michael ruined all of them, but wonders if his father ruined him before that. A spell comes down and she tells him what is done is done. And he says it all remains within them as part of their personal story. So Klaus says he thinks it's time for a new story. And basically he asks what she wants, and she says home, family, and life, and someone to love her. And Klaus tells her to basically run away from New Orleans. So from here, she basically says her goodbyes. Rebekah says her goodbyes to everyone. She says her goodbyes to Elijah. First she says goodbye to Elijah. She sees Elijah, and she says she's leaving shortly and asks if he'll go with her. He says he hopes she finds what she's looking for. And Rebekah says she is never meant for Michael to hurt him. And she says she's certain that Klaus was going to kill her. And she says maybe deep down he is the brother they once knew. And Elijah says very deep but still there. She kisses his cheek and tells him to help Klaus find his way. So Klaus comes back to the compound and asks what the vampires are loitering. And I'll get to that when we talk about the subplot. And then Marcel and Rebekah have their own little goodbye. You know, she stands at her mother's grave and is bound there. She tells him she's finally free, and he says that Klaus and Elijah took his home and people. Marcel grabs her and kisses her deeply. She steps back and tells him goodbye, and she tells him to try and stay alive. And then her last goodbye is to Hayley. Now, Hayley's I thought was actually the most effective. I really loved her goodbye to Hayley. Hayley sits by the fire when Rebekah shows up. She tells her she has to say goodbye, and says she has to leave to survive Klaus. So she says he's broken, but there's hope for him, and the baby is his best hope. She tells her to be careful because their family has many enemies, and Hayley asks her to come back and visit, and Rebekah says if she doesn't come back, to tell her stories about crazy, tell her baby stories about crazy Aunt Bex, and that she loves her niece so much, and she walks off into the night. And so she drives her convertible out over the bridge and out of the city, and that's the end of Rebekah. Rebekah, for right now, we don't know where she's going. But all we know is that Rebekah, is no longer part of the main cast. And how do I feel about Rebekah not being on the show anymore? Honestly, Rebekah was annoying in quite a few of these episodes and pissed me off in some of these episodes. However, she really was a great character. I really like what Elijah said to Klaus, is that before this whole Michael thing, she was a young, innocent girl who just tried to protect Klaus, but because of all this happening, he blamed Rebekah for Michael, basically. I loved that whole thing. I thought that was so good. And I really, really loved that plot. I thought it was really strong. I absolutely loved it. We did have a little subplot in there with Davina, and we're not going to talk that much about him. Just to basically say Davina didn't really know what she wanted to do. She and Cammy didn't really know what she wanted to do. Honestly, this storyline was kind of boring up until the very end. The very end was really good because Marcel, he went to see Genieve, who is now the head of the coven, because, all the others are dead. Monique is dead. Celeste is dead. All of them are dead except Genieve. So Genieve reminds him that he has no control over them anymore, and he has no right to ask her to lower the boundary spell. And he tells her a treaty with the vampires is a smart move. And he tells her if she'll help him now, he'll make sure the vamps stay out of the cauldron. And Genieve says they want Davina. Now, I predicted this was going to happen. I predicted that they were going to try to get Davina on their side. And basically, he tells her they have done too much to her and says it's his fault. She suffered because of his betrayal. And she says she will teach her how to use her powers and keep her safe. So Genieve says she'll break the spell if he delivers Davina. And, Marcel apparently is on trial now. It seems like he's on trial, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. And Marcel then asks Cammy about Davina, and she says she needs to be hospitalized. He says he thinks she needs to go back to the witches, and Cammy doesn't like it, but Marcel is very firm about it. So Marcel tells her that he will bring Davina to her once she wakes up, and he explains it to her. And she thinks she can break the curse since Celeste's magic drained into the earth when she died. And he asks her to fix Kieran too, and she says that she can't because the hex has already taken root. So, pretty much now, he's going to have to bring Davina to Genieve. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here, definitely. I'm definitely interested to see what happens here. And then just to end that plot, Klaus comes back to the compound, asks why the vampires are littering, and Marcel says he asked them to be there. And Marcel says it's his town and he's not sorry. He says he may be able to beat them, and Klaus walks away and up the stairs, but then Elijah throws Marcel across the quad, and he tells the vampires he trusts, they know who he is, and says it is his family home and they are taking it back. And he tells Marcel he will let him live only as a mercy to Rebekah. He tells him he is excited from the quarter. He tells the vampires to run alone, and they all scurry off. Klaus tells Elijah it was nicely done, and he says Elijah is beginning to sound like him, and it's impressive. So that was pretty much the episode. So I really enjoyed this episode because it was a very nice farewell to Rebekah. I did not know Claire Holt was leaving. I didn't know this till this episode. And I thought it was a nice surprise to see Rebekah leave because honestly, her character was getting very whiny and very annoying, and I will admit it, Rebekah was becoming a bitch. As much as I like her character, Rebekah was becoming a bitch in this show, definitely. And it's not, I think now what they should do is, eventually they're going to bring her back. Rebekah's going to come back. It might be on the Vampire Diaries. I'm thinking she might actually come back on the Vampire Diaries now and maybe start something up with Matt. I'm not really sure. I'm thinking that's where she's headed, though. I'm thinking because this is a spin-off show, I think she's headed for Mystic Falls. I think that's where she's going, and she's going to start trouble in Mystic Falls or something like that. We're going to have to see what happens there. However, the other thing I really loved about this episode was we did get to see, all of them make amends, basically, and I really loved all of her farewells to everyone. And she needs to start over, so that was basically the episode. What's going to happen with Marcel and Genieve and Davina? Is Genieve being sincere, or do you think she might actually try to hurt Davina? What's going to happen there? What do you think of Rebekah? Will we see her again? What do you think is going to happen there? That's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in my next video. Okay, bye.